Welcome, everybody. So today we're going to be diving into one of the most powerful tools available to traders and investors. It'll be ETFs, which are exchange traded funds. In this session, we're actually going to break down and analyze some of the major ETFs and see if we can spot any opportunities and just give us a better understanding of whatever trends we may be seeing in the market right now. If you're new to ETFs or you're just looking to sharpen your trading skills, my goal is to basically give you a clear and simple framework that you can use in your real-time trading and just an overall view of what's going on in the market right now. So let's get into it. All right, so we're going to start off with SPY. And if you look at the top here are my different tabs, these are the ETFs that I'm going to be going over. SPY and ES, which they both represent the S&P 500, top 500 holdings. US companies, QQQ, which will represent tech stocks. The VIX, which is the inverse of SPY. The NASDAQ, we'll be going over that. SMH, which is a ETF with chip stocks, semiconductors, and Bitcoin, which will ETF for crypto. All right, so let's start off with SPY. So always whenever I analyze any stock, I always like to take just a zoom out to like a monthly time frame to just kind of give me more perspective on where we are in the market. Something that I've been eyeing for a while is this down here on the RSI. You can see that we have some bearish divergence going on. So I definitely have my eye on that. Does that mean that I think that SPY is going to, go to dust? No, we don't have enough information to be able to say something like that. And you can also see in the past that even though we had bearish divergence in the past, we still were able to make new highs. So I don't use this as an only indicator, but it does help me to spot whether or not I could have some nasty pullbacks and whether I should expect them. So I'm going to take some levels of support from my monthly time frame. You can already see that as traders, one of the key aspects that we talk about is once we have a breakout from a previous high, we come back and retest those levels. So this month we actually finally did it. The close of last month's candle, this candle engulfing basically like 5 months of price action was already an indicator that we were probably going to come down. And this month did confirm it. This candle for April, we have not closed. We still have 3 days to see where this candle closes. But so far we can see that we almost perfectly retested this last breakout area and also close to our 50 EMA, but we did get a bounce, right? We got a pretty strong bounce. Buyers were definitely present in this area. Excuse me. And we managed to, so far, bounce from the 50. We're holding on to the 21 EMA, but also from another breakout area that we see here at a 525. And we can come back. And what I always like to do is to mark the bottom of my last month's candle, because I know as long as I'm under this level, like my last monthly candle closed at around 560, right? So as long as I'm under that level, I don't have promises of going up further higher. But as long as I would have to reclaim this level for me to say, okay, maybe I'm coming up to retest higher levels, like that 570 area. But we can't say that until SPY is able to reclaim this resistance level, right, of 560. All right, so far, so we have that information. We have, like I said, 3 days until this candle closes. We will know how this monthly candle closes after Wednesday. All right, so now let's go to the weekly. All right, so if let me write down, so this is my last month bottom. All right. Now, on the weekly time frame, you can see once we lost the 50 EMA, that was an indicator that said that we were probably going to get to the 200 EMA, which is at 476. We got almost perfectly there. We got as low as 481, it looks like, before we bounced. And now this week, we we bounced, right? We ended up engulfing prior week's candle. And even this candle here, so 1, 2, 3 weeks of price action, we did engulf. But so far, all SPY can say it's done is come to retest that area that it's dropped off from, which is that 555 area. So I'm gonna write that here, drop retest. Because just like how we retest levels once we break out from them to the upside, we usually come back to retest them to the downside as well. So let's go back to the monthly chart. If on the monthly chart, once we broke out from here, right here, once we broke out from this high here, right, we went and created a new high. At these highs, investors aren't trying to buy here. They're still waiting to be picked up back here, right? Because you have better risk to reward from this level, from this last breakout at 476 than you do here, right? So here investors were actually being cautious, right? They were probably selling more than they were buying because we had made an all-time high. So we did come back and retest this level. And here buyers were waiting because this wick is a strong sign of how buyers showed up at this level, right? Now our job is to see have our buyers still in, like our buyers still holding the line. Well, so far when we on the weekly, so this is why we go from a top-down analysis. On the weekly, you can see that we did make it to the 200 EMA. Here, buyers stepped in strong. But the level that we have to reclaim to the upside now is this 555 level. Because if you can see on the weekly, all we did so far is retest this level that we broke out from. So in the same way that buyers are waiting, right, at the previous retest levels for the upside, to the downside as well, it's possible that here investors are getting out of positions if they're suspecting another drop, right? So when we come back to retest those levels that we dropped off from, investors try not to sell at the low. They try to wait for the retest and sell here in their exiting position. So our job is to see, okay, are investors staying in SPY? Are they reclaiming bullish levels? Are there more buyers present than there are sellers? If we're able to reclaim these strong levels of resistance, those are signs that, hey, buyers are stronger here than sellers. But if we do reject here, so each of these candles takes a week to make, right? Going into like tomorrow, Monday morning, I start to look at those daily candles that we start making this week, the 4-hour candles. How do we start to react at this 555 level, right? Because so far, like we saw last week, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of price action, we were actually able to close over. So we know that for even 549 now will be a key level. If we lose this level, then I may say, okay, more downside, because you can see that we retested this 90 EMA. We didn't get specifically over it though. And even the 50, once we lost the 50 is when we got to the 200. So unless we can really reclaim 555, 560 areas, I'm cautious being too bullish because we just be maybe retesting these areas that we broke down from. But yeah, for sure, if we're able to get above 555, now we're reclaiming the 50 EMA, right? Now we're getting above the 50, which is a sign of strength, a sign of bulls being present. And that would also be reclaiming the 9. That would also be reclaiming that monthly level here at 560. And remember what that monthly level was the bottom of last month. So if we're able to reclaim this level, then we can say further upside. But if we do continue to reject here, we're just retesting where we dropped off from. All right, so that's the weekly. Let's go to the 4-hour real quick and see what's going on. So on the 4-hour, when I look to see if I suspect if I'll be able to break through a level, I look to see to check my RSI. This kind of shows me how much gas is in my car. Here, if I'm expecting to go for SPY to go further up, I would like to see a cool down on my RSI. I would like to see, you see here, this is my money flow index indicator on the top in purple and my RSI on the bottom. I like to see these pretty much towards the floor. That tells me I have further room to move up. But when these are this extended like that, my risk to reward is actually better to the downside when your RSI is this oversold. So when you're oversold, your chances for a downside move are greater. It's not always 100%, but like we've mentioned in the past, you always like to use these things as a confluence, right? You gather enough information from these different indicators to help you make the most educated decision. So even on the 4-hour, you can see okay, our RSI is pretty much getting to those oversold levels again. And now who's waiting for us here? The 200 EMA. So this 200 EMA is meeting perfectly at that 555 drop retest level on the weekly, right? So if I had to guess, would I say, oh yes, I think I have enough strength to break through this? Well, my risk to reward is actually greater to the downside. If I'm able to, now obviously we respect price action. If we're able to break above these levels, these are bullish levels, respect that, right? Able to reclaim 559. But I'd be careful to see if I'm getting if there's a fake out. I would be very cautious just because I already know that I'm extended on the 4-hour. A cool down is going to have to come. Well, and if you don't think it has to, like, just look and see what's happened in the past. Past price action helps you to kind of make a better educated decision for the future price action. Look at how extended the RSI was last time we were at this retest level. See the money flow and the RSI? We're actually more extended now than then, even though we've created a new high here. See how now we're more extended than the RSI was back then? This was back Wednesday, April 9th. So here we had to pull back, right? So I do suspect that we may need a pullback. Let me look at the daily. In the dailies, even the daily candle, we're right under this level that we had dropped from. So it's like, okay, did we drop? We came and retest, dropped again. We're retesting again. Can we break above this? Our 50th meeting us there, or will we reject and create a double top here, or do we actually reclaim this and start to retest those highs? Who knows? Who knows? But like I said, these areas here will be critical to determine that. And let's see. Let's look at the 1 hour. So even look at like, okay, so now I had gone to the 4 hour to show you how extended we were. These give me more confidence in the RSI, but then I even like to go, okay, like what is the 1 hour showing me? I mean, it's super extended, right? It's definitely telling us that it needs to come down for some type of cool down for it to be able to go higher. See it in the past. Even though here we were extended, we did cool down a little bit. We made a new high, but see, we had to cool down some. So the 1 hour is flashing like we need a cool down, but obviously the 1 hour cool down won't be as deep as a 4 hour cool down. Because a 1 hour only takes 1 hour to create. So I put this trend line here. Pretty makes sense. It makes sense on the 4 hour too. So a break of this trend line would give you more confirmation to retest the last support area, which I would put around 525. All right, so let's look at ES and see. And usually ES and SPY, they kind of mirror each other. So let's see if they're giving us the same type of information. Sometimes ES looks a little bit different, and it actually helps me pick up like if there's like a clue maybe that SPY didn't give me. All right, breakout. I'm gonna mark this level here too. I'm just looking for levels of support and resistance. Okay. And let me mark last month. All right, let's go to the weekly. All right, so on SPY, actually, look at this. This is interesting. So, okay, let me mark this level here because this is a weekly level. My black levels are weekly levels. So this is the drop retest on the weekly. All right. So I think it's interesting that if you look on ES, 1, 2, 3, these 3 candles are all actually inside of this candle. This is giving, when you have an impulse candle move down like this, and then you have this consolidation inside of this candle, this is the leading candle. This is still a bearish candle, telling me that, let me see my monthly levels. So telling me that we've actually still lost this level on the weekly, meaning that we still have access to 50.54 and 478.84. So let me mark this level too. Bottom of monthly flag. So these levels all are of support to the downside. But so remember, this level here, 53.25, is a breakout level, right? So remember that level, 53.23 actually, 53.23. So I wrote here breakout. Now we're going to the weekly chart. So see how this candle here has actually broken through our breakout level, right? So even though we have 3 weeks of price action, all of them are still inside this candle, telling me that we still have actually not reclaimed those levels to the upside. But the difference here, so that's what ES is showing. Look at what SPY is showing. SPY on the weekly is actually showing us that we did reclaim that level on SPY. But we have this huge gap here that may be what's making the difference in ES and SPY, because SPY doesn't open Sunday nights, ES does. So this could be giving us a clearer view of what the market's actually looking like, which it looks a little bit more like it could come down more than the SPY does. So that's what I see on the ES. We did, like I said, we did drop. We came almost, lost the 50, got almost to the 200 EMA. We've bounced so far, but don't be fooled by this bullish engulfing unless we can get above these drop retest levels here. Okay, same thing as SPY. And that would be reclaiming the 9 EMA, the 50 EMA, and getting above like our last month's bottom. Reclaiming those levels would make us a little bit more bullish, but as long as we can't reclaim, especially this 5620, we could just be retesting to come down further. Let me take a look at the RSI on the daily. Okay. We are operating from across 50 and 200 EMA. All right, let's look at here on the 4-hour. Yeah, so the 4-hour money flow has a little bit more room. So we may try to fight here at this level, but here above this, we would be met with the 400 EMA. With our RSI so extended like this, it's not likely that we're able to break above this. But if we do, respect price action, of course. If we do, definitely a more bullish sign. And I'd be targeting, for example, so I'd want to get over 57.10, this high here, and then target 58.38. Am I able to get over 58.38? Then 6,000 would be my next target to the upside. But to the downside, if we reject here, I would look to retest all of these levels. So 55.25 would need to be retested. If we can't find enough support here, I see us coming back to 53.23. Here, I'd look for buyers again at 53.23. But if we break that, careful, because then this could just be a bear flag. Breaking 53.23 here would give us probably access again to these lower levels. And usually once we break these trend lines that we're from like this, we come to retest that lower trend and either create a double bottom or make a new low. So I would definitely look to see what ES does here. And I'm actually going to set my alerts right at this level. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's good for ES. Let's take a look at the VIX real quick. So the VIX is the inverse of SPY, right? Inverse of ES. And so I also like to take a look at the VIX when I'm charting my ETFs, just to see, if it's showing any early moves. This is the monthly time frame. So we had gotten above this last high. Last high breakout. So that's where that level is coming from. And you could see here at around 33.81, you can see every time pretty much like how we have all these candles that respected this level's been acting as a ceiling, right, for price action. Like we have these candles that close right at this level, these that wick there, see all these. So we know that this is like an important level for the VIX, as well as 38. I want to mark that. And I like this one first, 54. All right, now let's go to the weekly. All right. So on the weekly, we have the high that we would be retesting. This got as high as 74. All right, that's that. So once the VIX reached here, we had a nasty pullback back in 2020, but once the VIX reached here, it came back, it pulled back. So we know this is a strong area of resistance, okay? All right, so far what I see, so let's just go, this is the weekly chart. You can see that even this last high breakout on the monthly, this is also on the breakout retest level on the weekly. So this is an important level. And what I find interesting is that, so we have this impulse candle, which is basically reclaimed. So that's on the monthly. So we've reclaimed this level here, 38.71. technically we're above on the weekly. We've reclaimed this level of 38.71, meaning that if we have access to this level, that means that we definitely have access to 53. And if we can get above 53.74, but we don't have that information yet, but we still, being at this above 38.71 on the weekly tells us that we still have access to 53. What's happened though on the weekly is that you can see we've had 1, 2, 3 weeks of an inside move, because you can see all these candles are actually inside this candle. And on the weekly, we ended up closing right above perfectly that breakout level on the weekly. We're literally right. Let me zoom in. See, we literally like to, let me, so we made, okay, we had all this consolidation, broke out from this level, made this high here, we pulled back, right? But we pulled back. There's actually a trend line here. Let me mark this trend line. All right, because you can see here how this trend line acted as resistance. So we had broken out here. We had already broken out, but we came back to retest this trend line that we broke out from. That's why this was a failed evening star. It looked like an evening star at resistance, but truly it was just retesting this trend line. So we had this trend line here. We broke out, retested the breakout, and then from here we bounced, right? Now we came back for 3 weeks, but just to retest this high, because for the VIX to go higher, it needed to break out above 24.84. It finally did. This week it had gapped up, right? So this was the high that we had broken out from, and here we are for 3 weeks. We came and perfectly closed above this weekly retest level. So we're at a retest level on the weekly. Let's take a look at it and see where our RSI is at on the 4-hour. We're at the 200 and the 400 EMAs on the 4-hour, and our RSI is pretty oversold on the 4-hour too. So look at what happened last time the RSI was oversold on the 4-hour, right? This is the last time the RSI was oversold on the 4-hour. And here we are at a retest level on the weekly with our RSI getting back to those oversold levels, right? Almost at the 200 EMA. And SPY is at the weekly retest level. So now honestly, if we lose these levels, then we know we're like, for the VIX goes down, SPY goes up. So if you start to see that the VIX is not respecting these levels and breaking through and not caring about the RSI and maybe coming back to retest this trend line that we had broken out from the weekly, then yes, that gives SPY a more bullish case. But if you start to see the VIX bounce here, right, and now start to come back, because like I said, this really looks to me like a symmetrical triangle, like we're just consolidating right under. Really, we've reclaimed 38 on the weekly. So from this consolidation will come a strong move. So we'll see which way that happens. If I had to guess a direction, I would say that the VIX would be going up from here just because of what it's done in the past. But it may not. The VIX doesn't care about what I think. We just have to react to what price action. So remember, if the VIX comes down, SPY goes up. If the VIX goes up, SPY comes down. All right, let's chart QQQ. This will show us, give us more clarity on what our tech stocks are going to do. And we're also going to chart SMH. So how long have we been here? Okay, 23 minutes. I don't want to make this super long to give you guys time if you want to go over it. All right, QQQ perfectly at 400. QQQ came and retested, but QQQ has actually so far reclaimed its last monthly bottom. It's a little bit more bullish for QQQ. Now it hasn't closed yet. We'll see how it closes. So right here, last monthly bottom. All right. Okay, I'm gonna mark this level 2. I can see how this level has been at resistance level. You can see how we closed right under it. These 3 weeks, we could solid right under it. This candle broke out through it, and this candle remained above this breakout area. Once we lost this level, was just a little bit more bearish. So 480 looks an important level. I'm going to keep that mark. All right, and let me get that last breakout area, 444. All right, let's go to the weekly. All right, so this is also a weekly and a monthly breakout. Weekly, monthly breakout. Okay, so for QQQ, kind of same thing got going on as SPY in the sense of we lost a 50, we came down to almost perfectly to the 200 EMA. Let me see here, there's another level here on the weekly. We can see this is a breakout level right here. Every time we've got it, it's a strong level here, like at 410, I'd say, this 410 area. But even when we gap down to this level, we literally just reclaimed this level. So we got as low as, let's see, 399, which remember on the monthly breakout level was right here. See, this is a high here. We broke out, so that's at 400. And we were there at 400. It was pretty high probability that we were going to bounce, right? We had the 50 EMA there, monthly breakout level, strong area for buyers to show up. On the weekly, the 200 EMA was meeting us there. That's that monthly breakout level. But so far, yes, QQQ has bounced. It did this last week reclaim the 9 EMA actually and its last monthly bottom. But for QQQ, where I see its next area is 480, we would need to reclaim 480 for it to go any higher. You can see that this is actually the drop retest level on the weekly too. Drop retest on the weekly. So let's see where we are on the daily. So on the daily, we closed right under the 50, which the 50 and the 200 are crossed. Let's look at the 200. I mean, at the 4-hour. So the 4-hour were really extended as well. We're at those over bought levels. So and now we're meeting the 200 EMA at this overbought levels. 480 will be critical for us to reclaim. If we cannot reclaim it, if we do have to cool down, this is what I'd look at here. So if we cool down, I want to see QQQ could probably go back here to the 444 area to find support or this trend line right around this area. If we fail here, if we fail 444, that would be breaking this trend line, and that would mean that tech is coming down, right? So we would look. I would look again for QQQ at 410. I'm going to create an alert here, or this 400 area again. The 400 area for QQQ is the same thing that the 476 area is for SPY. They're both that monthly breakout retest levels and strong areas that buyers have shown up in the past before. So if they don't show up now, if buyers actually lose that level, that's not a great sign for bulls, right? But if we do cool down back to where buyers showed up and buyers showed up again, that's now another opportunity to buy in. You saw what happened the last time we got to this level. We moved from 400 almost to 480, right? That's an $80 move from April 7th to April 25th. That's less than a month that move happened. So if buyers show up again, if you start seeing like on the 4-hour, what did buyers look like last time? See, look at this. We touched the 400 level, but we bounced and reclaimed this 410 level. Let's go back to the weekly. What's 410? Remember, this is that weekly breakout level that was strong. Even here, when we got down almost perfectly to this level, we bounced, right? Because 410 was a strong level. It could be a psych level just because of 410, but either way, we know that the 200 EMA was meeting us very close to there too, around 400. So these are strong areas for buyers to be. Even on the weekly, we're pretty at those oversold levels too. So even if on the 4-hour, for whatever reason, some news comes out and we end up cooling down and we're back at 400, just careful being too bearish. Just look for a sign of buyers, right? Like look at buyers to see if buyers are stepping in again like they did last time. All right, so that's what I have on QQQ. Let's do the NASDAQ. I don't usually chart the NASDAQ. I usually go for SPY, but let's do it. Why not? Same thing. So for the NASDAQ, looks like that breakout level is the 16,414. So that's what I'm going to mark there. Let me see what else. Same thing here for 18,370, the breakout level as well. And here we've also reclaimed last month's. Let me zoom in. Let's see. Sometimes I'm like, I like to see if it's like I like to be super precise. All right, let's see. We're literally right there, 429.30 it looks like. Okay, so we closed right under this level on the weekly. That's a drop retest level. On the monthly, let me make that red. Yeah, we literally closed right under it. Drop retest. Because this was an area of support, right? We have all these candles that basically right here we held the line. Whenever we had a close, we closed right above that 1430 area. So when this candle lost that level, now it gave it access to 18,520. Really 18,352, which was the last breakout, but by the rule of this candle closing under this level, gave it access to the bottom of this candle, 18,530. So we didn't, obviously we reached lower levels, um, which we didn't have the information technically for that with last month. But so far this month, we have 3 days for this candle to close, but we're right under the drop retest level on the monthly. So let's look on the weekly what that looks like. All right, so on the weekly, same thing. So look, we on the weekly, the drop retest level is a little bit higher. It's 19,639. Um, But again, like, unless we can reclaim, we could go all the way to 19,633, right? We could gap up to Monday morning and be at this level or touch here, but be careful here because unless we can reclaim this, all we could be creating is because a lot of these stocks, what they look like they're doing is like a head and shoulders. If you see here, this left shoulder, head, and it could be creating like a right shoulder here. And we're at the highs, right? So I'm careful here, like I said. But if we reclaim this, we respect price action. And that's reclaiming the 50. That's bullish for NASDAQ. But I would look here to see if we reject. So let's look at see on the daily. On the daily, we're under the 50 and the 200 again, crossed under this drop retest level on the monthly. Let's see the 4 hour. So we're getting pretty close to the 400 EMA with our RSI at those over bought levels. So careful. I'm careful here to be too bullish. Let's see on the 1 hour, same thing, getting pretty oversold. So our risk reward really looks better here to the downside, even for the NASDAQ. All right, let's go to SMH. So SMH ETF for the semiconductors. Top holding is NVIDIA. I think TSM as well. This one didn't come down as low as some of these other ones did. 160 is the level for SMH for this breakout. All right. I'm going to mark the bottom of this candle as well. This is 210 has been an important level for SMH. You can see all these candles have basically consolidated right above 210.50. All right, and so even so far, we've actually reclaimed that level, but this candle hasn't closed yet. Let's look at the weekly. All right, so on the weekly, so look, perfectly, once we lost the 50, we got to the 200, real close to that breakout level. And so far we've bounced. We did engulf last 3 weeks price action, and we did reclaim that 210 level all the way to, looks like 219 on the weekly is a drop retest level that we would need to reclaim for further upside. We closed right under the 9 EMA on the weekly too. So we could just be retesting, kind of giving me the same look as the rest of them. Under the 400 EMA as well, under these retest levels. And our RSI is getting pretty to those overbought levels, getting pretty close on the daily. And our 4 hours right under the 200 EMA, way overbought levels. So looks like we could be coming in for a cool down. Same thing here. If we do reject here, I would look for SMH again here. If we break through this, I would look for SMH again here at the last low, because remember we're breaking this trend line, so that level is 169. And I'm going to create an alert here, because so this will alert me, right? If semiconductors do come down and SMH gets back to 169, then here I'm looking to see, okay, where's the video? Because my chances for buyers here are stronger, right? So I'm like, now I'm looking at SMH, like, wait, where's the video? Where's AMD, right? Are these stocks giving me an opportunity? Are they looking like they could be bouncing, right? Are they giving a sign of buyers? This is an ETF that is the major holding for the majority of semiconductors, or the top, the top semis. So yeah, if something that I'm looking for an entry on, if the ETF is showing a sign of buyers, maybe before NVIDIA or before AMD that I'm looking to take a position in, then yeah, this gives me more confidence to see that SMH is bouncing or that buyers are showing up. So that's why I have my alert set here, not to tell me to get in, but to tell me to look and see if I'm getting an opportunity to get in. All right, that's SMH. Let's look at Bitcoin real quick. Bitcoin's monthly candle, all these stocks that are monthly candles are about to close in about 3 days. So we have this level here. I marked this because here, Bitcoin struggled to ever get above 61. You see, even made a double top here and came down. Here we got right back to this double top, right, to this last high. And then for months, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 months, we consolidated right here until this candle was actually able to break above all of this consolidation and tell us that buyers were strong enough to go higher. Now we have this breakout. We've also had this consolidation here. So let's take a look and see where we're at so far here. All right. So on the monthly, this is a level here because this level was a previous high. You see how all these months, when they consolidated, all of them pretty much consolidated right around under 71,000. So we have a breakout level here. Now this impulse candle, as long as this candle doesn't get taken out, it goes all the way to about 70,000. Bitcoin, I think from my perspective, would still be bullish. All this consolidation has happened above this prior breakout. All right, and then I marked this level here because what made us a little bit more bearish and more probable to get to 71 was the fact that when this candle here engulfed these two candles and we lost this level that for prior to that, like for 2 months we had consolidated right above 93,000, but this candle actually engulfed those last 2 months, losing this level, which gave us access to now this level, right, the 71,402, even all the way to 70,000. And it got pretty close, right? This wick so far has gotten to 74,104. So Bitcoin did have a nasty pullback, but this candle already pretty much told us that that was our next support. This was our next support area, right? We're also pretty much very close to the 21 EMA there. And we see how strong of a level that is, right? Because it took all of this consolidation to finally break out from that level. So that used to be old resistance. You know now that this is strong support. Just how it was strong resistance to break out above, it's now strong support for if we ever got under. So buyers are definitely waiting here. If you ever lose this level, you know that Bitcoin's going down further, right? Because 71,402 was a super strong level for Bitcoin, right? For a really long time. And so it losing that and people saying, no, we don't like Bitcoin anymore at that level, like that's definitely a sign of weakness. But so far we don't have that. All right, so on the weekly, same thing. That 71,402 level was the bottom of, it was a breakout level. Let me write that here. Oops. Breakout. All right. And so this candle did that breakout, and we basically went from like a just kind of like double top. We came down and we got to the 50 EMA. This wick got as low as 74, And we formed so far what looks like a double bottom. This hasn't closed. This candle closes in 3 hours. So I'm definitely interested to see if, because this Lenny 3095 on the weekly, if it's able to reclaim this level, it's reclaiming all this consolidation. But what made us lose that consolidation was this candle here. So it's definitely important for Bitcoin to be able to hold on to that level is 94,273. So far we're above it, but we close in 4 hours. So if we can't take this guy out the picture, meaning closing above it and basically like invalidating its move, we could come down higher. So let's say bear flag. If we close above it, it's no longer a bear flag, right? It was just double bottom. But if we close under it, then we were just really retesting the top of this candle where people would, if are people selling here? Is there more selling pressure here or more buying pressure? Let's look at the daily RSI to see what we're working with. So on the daily, we're really extended, right? Like we're definitely more overbought than oversold. And we're at that level, right? The weekly. 3 hours till this candle closes. Let's see how it closes. 4 hour, we're showing some bearish divergence. See where this high here on the RSI is higher than this to the left, but it's actually the opposite on the candlesticks. So let's see. What else do I see? It looks like we're right here. So yeah, definitely interested to see how this closes in the next few hours. Is this a flag? I'm not sure. We'll see. We're pretty oversold on the 1 hour. I think it looks more like this. Let's see. I think it looks like this more. So whichever way, if this is able to break above here, and Bitcoin is able to close above this level on the weekly, great sign for bulls. But if we fail here, then we'd be losing the 50 EMA, and getting back to the 200 EMA would means 91,000. So that's what I see on Bitcoin so far. On the monthly, I'm definitely curious to see how this ends up playing out because, I mean, was this just like all this consolidation? Was this just a flag too? Um, and us even closing like this could kind of look like a morning star. But like I said, on the monthly, for us to really say Bitcoin's going to try some higher levels, we need to close above 93,095. And then we could challenge 96 and then try again for 102. So we'll see how the monthly closes. All right, y'all. So thank you so much for listening to this recording. If you have any questions, you can always send me a message or talk to me in the chat. All right, y'all. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Bye.